Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, bringing you my St. Patrick's Day Q&A special. And in this video I'm going to be answering several of your questions as I always do. So the first question comes in from the Blue Haired Super Saiyan. I've already said this before, check out his channel, I'll put it in the description, he makes awesome content. He wants to know, have you ever seen Goku and Frank Until the End of Time, where Goku becomes a ultra power Super Saiyan and defeats Hitler? Yes, I actually did see that. That was actually a funny little special fan-made thing. Living Ichigo wants to know, do you like the fight between Piccolo and Frost better in the anime or the manga? I recently finished reading the manga about 6 hours ago. I'm gonna have to go with the anime because, I mean, not being biased, I mean, Piccolo put up a much better fight and the manga was just so brief. I mean, Piccolo just got knocked out of the ring. I mean, there really wasn't any intensity towards it. And for the Goku Frost fight, I mean, I thought that could have been better in the manga. But the one thing I will say though is I don't like how they took out that detail about Frost being a bad guy. Good question, Ichigo. By the way, this guy's an awesome Dokkan player, for those of you who don't know. He's the #1 in the world. Ely wants to know, Qaaman, do you believe Piccolo could attain God Ki through training with Whis? Yes, I do, because I don't think, and I'm going to do a whole video about this in the future once I get more research, but I'm not a person who believes that God Ki necessarily means, I don't think that you have to have God Ki, like, in order to be a god. Like, I think it's something that can be trained and attained. Like, they never once specified that you have to be a Saiyan to have God Ki, or you have to be a god of destruction, or you have to be a Kai. You know, it never mentioned anything like that in Dragon Ball. It seems like you can attain it by training, as Goku and Vegeta did in that, cloudy dimension. More so Vegeta than Goku. So yes, I think it's possible. Fabio Drummond wants to know, who would be strong, Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks or Potara Super Saiyan Goten plus Trunks? I mean, I would think at both Super Saiyans, like if you were to compare Super Saiyan Goten and Trunks with the rings versus the dance, I'd give the edge to Goten and Trunks. And if Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks with the dance is stronger, I'd give the edge to the Potara Goten and Trunks, because they could easily transform Super Saiyan 3 anyways, even if they're weaker temporarily. Tyler wants to know, what is your favorite Dragon Ball Z game and favorite game that is not Dragon Ball Z? My favorite non-Dragon Ball Z game would probably have to be Zelda Twilight Princess. Honorable mention to Mortal Kombat Armageddon, and I'm gonna do a big discussion in the future talking about Armageddon when I have some more time on my hands, because I'm kind of still trying to get caught up on some other videos. But my favorite Dragon Ball Z game, it would probably have to be a toss-up between Xenoverse, Budokai Tenkaichi 3, and Budokai 1. I'm going to give a slight edge to Xenoverse because of what the story actually did. It was such a unique story. The custom character system was great, even though people could manipulate and bust it up. So I'm going to have to go with Xenoverse, even though that's a recent option. This might be a stupid basic question, but is Super Saiyan a base times multiplier by 2 or 50? No, Super Saiyan is a base multiplier by 50. Super Saiyan 2 is a Super Saiyan 2 times 2, if you know what I mean. I'm sorry, Super Saiyan 2 is a Super Saiyan times 2. So, for example, a Super Saiyan 2 is like doubling the power of a Super Saiyan 1. Why can't Gohan dodge? Well, I guess unfortunately Piccolo didn't do a very good job teaching him this. I know this is a Team 4-Star reference, but that's probably the most accurate answer. And let's see, I already did a video on this Dende question. Well, it was really Blackenfist, not really me. I just mentioned it before. What if Krillin fell in love with Android 19 instead of 18? I mean, that would be kind of weird. I mean, 19's a male android. I don't know how to answer. I don't know how to answer this. He's a male android, and I mean, Krillin wouldn't be attracted to it. I can't see this question, bro. That was a fun question. And for my final two questions for Twitter, if Majin Buu was not resurrected but Vegeta and Goku still fought in the tournament, who would have won? Now, one thing people do say though is the fact that Vegeta required, the whole Majin power in order to, fight on par with Goku. So even I don't think the Majin power allowed Vegeta to go Super Saiyan 2. It's very obvious that Vegeta was able to go Super Saiyan 2 before the Majin powers, and I could do a whole nother video explaining that in the future. Or maybe you could watch Dragon Ball Nation's video on that. But the point I'm trying to say here is that because Vegeta acquired that Majin power to get closer to Goku's power, and considering the fact that Vegeta observed Goku's fight, and Vegeta saw the fact that Goku still seemed like he had an edge on him before, falling into Babidi's mind spell, that leads me into believing that Goku would still have had the edge if it was just them fighting in their base forms, as they were stating to do. And the final question is, have you ever seen Dragon Ball Z2? Because I think it explains a lot about Real Lord Frieza. I don't know exactly what that is, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, these are two quick ones here. Who's the most likely to get into a fight with you out of the Dragon Ball YouTubers? That's an easy question. Dragon Ball Nation. And the last question is, which sequel do you think is better, Dragon Ball GT or Dragon Ball Super? As of right now, I mean, I don't think it's fair to say because Super's not done, but I would say GT was more engaging because, I mean, I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry, but you can't have the first 27 episodes of a series about stuff that you already know is going to happen. I'm sorry, I mean, GT was completely original, and, that's a big blunder on Super's part to retell the entire movie saga, in addition to having the manga literally adding nothing, because the manga is coming out once a month, and then we already know what's going to happen beforehand. Now the manga is behind the anime. They've done a poor job with the anime, and I just think they did a poor job of just retelling the movies. If they just started off with the Universe 6 arc, I would have been completely fine with that. And if they just moved the story from there on out, that would have been better for me, because it was just a cash grab for those first two arcs. So as of right now, I'm going to have to go with GT, but that's not to say I don't think Super's going to get better. And that's it. This last question is, are you a fan of Dragon Ball Z? That's obvious. Let's move over to Ask FM right now. Alright, so the first question is, what's your wish on a 4-leaf clover for St. Patrick's Day? I mean, man, if I were to make one wish, I don't know, have 250,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I mean, that would be my goal. I'm not sure I'm probably going to get that, but if I had to pick a goal, that's what I'd probably pick. Hey Qaaman, I'm new to Dragon Ball, and I wanted to know, when did the Z Warriors learn how to fly each? Okay, basically what happens is, in Dragon Ball, there's, Suru Senin, if you want to go with his original name, but Master Shen, for those of you who might know more familiar with, Master Shen basically had like a crane hermit school, and he taught Chaozu and Tien how to fly. So when we saw Tien and Chaozu at the beginning of Dragon Ball, like ever since there was that whole episode about Ino Shikachu, I think that's what his name was, there was like that whole purple monster thing. They were able to fly ever since like that point of Dragon Ball. So after that, years passed, Krillin and Yamcha, were training, and Tien was also training through those 3 years. And then when Krillin fought against Piccolo Jr., meaning Krillin was able to fly once he was fighting him. He didn't have complete mastery over it. So Krillin learned how to fly in that gap at least a little bit. Tien and Chaozu already knew how to fly. Yamcha, we didn't really see him flying, but we saw Yamcha flying, in the beginning of Z, so we assumed that, during the gap after that, Yamcha learned how to fly. Goku first really demonstrated his ability to fly in Dragon Ball when he headbutted Piccolo Jr. at the end of the tournament and basically helped him win the fight. So it's assumed that Goku may not have completely known how to fly at that point. Like, he was still kind of learning it, and that was kind of like a freak reaction. But Goku at least dabbled with learning how to fly out of pure, out of pure aggression and just as a natural reaction to fighting against King Piccolo. Or you can argue that he learned how to fly training with Kami and Mr. Popo for those several years. Personally, I think that, considering the fact that, Goku was there for a long period of time, my 2 cents is that Goku at least learned how to fly somewhat when he was training with King Piccolo and Kami, and then by Dragon Ball Z, even though Goku may not have been great at flying because he was still using his Nimbus at the beginning of the series, and he wasn't, I would have to say that Goku definitely learned how to fly, like completely mastered by the beginning of Dragon Ball Z along with all the other Z fighters. So maybe the Z fighters, you know, gotta, you know, observe Tien doing it, because Dragon Ball has a way of doing this where like Z fighters have learned how to just do things just by watching another one. For example, how Tien just did a Kamehameha, you know, against Master Roshi, even though he'd never done it before. So my guess is that they observed Tien doing it, they observed Chaozu doing it, they dabbled with it for a few years, and they taught themselves, even though Master Roshi never learned how to do it, and Yajirobe never learned how to do it. That has to be my featured question. I went in depth about that one. Hey, okay, favorite artist that you listen to? My favorite rapper is Busta Rhymes. My favorite band would probably have to be Avenged Sevenfold. My favorite artist of all time would probably have to be Bob Marley. And my favorite genre of music would probably be 80s music. Me and Super Jaiyan sing 80s songs all the time. When Goku and Gohan were in the hyperbolic time chamber, did Gohan basically skip Super Saiyan 1? Not, I mean, he did. Okay, this was anime only, but Gohan like turned Super Saiyan 2 for like a few seconds in the anime in one of Goku's flashbacks. We didn't see that in the manga. He just came out and Goku said, I saw, you know, something in the hyperbolic time chamber. So you have to assume something similar happened in the manga. So, I mean, he didn't skip Super Saiyan 1. I mean, he basically learned it and he really maximized it when he was fighting against the Cell Juniors and Cell. Okay, what if Goku and Mr. Satan had met as kids instead of Goku meeting Krillin? I'm pretty sure Mr. Satan would be a lot stronger than what he is, and he'd be, you know, one of the he'd be one of the Super Z fighters as opposed to just being a strong human. You know, he'd be on Krillin and Yamcha and Tien's level, or at least in a relative ballpark of them. Shenron versus Puff. I don't know what you're talking about here, but I'm assuming he means Puff the Magic Dragon, because wasn't that like some... Guys, I'm not really knowledgeable about here. In the comment section, is Puff the Magic Dragon like some like kid thing? Because I remember hearing about him when I was really young, like Puff the Magic Dragon lives by the sea or something like that. So yeah, I think he's talking about that. I'm gonna have to go with Shenron because I don't know if Puff can grant wishes. I don't know. I just finished watching Yu Yu Hakusho. I was wondering who's your favorite character. Mine was Kuwabara. I really liked his bravery. Well, my favorite character is actually on my banner. It's Hiei. I think he's awesome. And yeah, Christopher Sabat did a great job with Kuwabara. And the last question is, I already answered a lot of Yu Yu Hakusho, so I gotta be fair to somebody else. Would you rather show up to class wearing a dress or wearing a clown suit? I would rather wear a clown suit. I'm sure a lot of people would have questions about me if I wore a dress. And the last two questions are, I bet your buddy Piccolo will never win a fight again, ha 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 ha. Well, unfortunately, you might be true because this might be like his last major part of the entire Dragon Ball series, and they cheated him. I don't need to make another video about it. One was made by force. And the last question is, I bet my dad can beat up your dad. Well, my dad used to do some judo when he was younger, and he was a wrestler in high school, so not 100% sure, but I don't know how strong your dad is. Okay. You know what, guys? I'm feeling super generous right now. Hey Qaaman, Dragon Ball Nation, do you remember when Goku was enraged after learning of Krillin's death? In the version of the manga I read, Goku stated it's time for revenge and then jumped on Kintu-1. For those of you who don't know, Kintu-1 is the Nimbus Cloud. Why can he do that even though he had negative thoughts towards Krillin's murderer? I don't think the Nimbus Cloud works like that. I think the Nimbus Cloud has like its mind of its own that can sense the heart's pure intention. And also because of the fact that the Nimbus kind of already had a relationship with Goku, I don't think he would have betrayed his trust like that. I think the Nimbus Cloud kind of like has its mind of its own. It allows you to jump on him or not, and if it feels you don't have a pure heart, you won't have a pure heart. But since the Nimbus Cloud already knew Goku, I don't think that applies. And even though Goku had negative thoughts, that doesn't take away Goku's heart, because Goku still had a great heart. It's just that he was mad because of the death of his friend. So I think that's pretty much a good question to close out. So I hope you guys liked this video, and please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys. And in the comment section below, I wanna fly as your hashtag of the day. Thank you for watching.